Hi everyone, this is Lori with 3 Keys Astrology, and as a reminder, I'm starting to offer monthly written readings, astrology readings for all of you that are delivered directly to your inbox. These are customized to your birth chart. So while we astrologers on the internet mostly talk about the transit energies, which are Pluto being in Aquarius and now Neptune is in Aries, it doesn't talk about the intricacies of what your own personal birth chart is doing. And so that is why I'm offering these readings. You don't meet me on Zoom. They're a mere $100. You can get all 12 for $1,200. And I take your personalized chart and match to what's going on astrologically for you in this time, in this place, in this big wide space that we live in. Excuse me. Today I thought I'd pop on and talk to you a little bit about a pretty incredible planet that has ingressed, made its transport from the constellation Pisces into Aries. And this is King Neptune. He's one of my favorite creatures, one of my favorite mythological creatures because I love the water. So King Neptune, as I've alluded to in some of your videos that I talked about for all signs that I did for April 2025, King Neptune rules the realms of the unconscious mind. Jung loved him, Freud loved him, because our unconscious desires drive us to do the things we do, and we might not even understand really why. Why am I attracted to that person? Why do I want to live in this location? Why am I choosing psychology for my major? These are all the realms of the unconscious world. And King Neptune rules all the waters in the world. So can you imagine if you take the king of the waters of the world and you throw him in an arid, hot desert, Aries territory? And so I thought I'd just come in and give you a little preview because it's a very big deal. Neptune rules Pisces and has been there. I'm sorry, I should have looked up the specific dates for you and I didn't. But he's going to do quite a tour in Aries. And I just want you to know that, remember, the Aries sign is a sign of the warrior. And what are warriors? Well, they're our modern day soldiers. What were they in the Middle Age? They were the knights that protected the crown, aka kings in every land. They were King Arthur's Knight of the Round Table, those big, virile, strong alpha men protected. But they also pillaged, and they also fought, and they were also quite violent. So I know our modern day knights are not dressed in chainmail, are not riding on horses like knights in shining armor, but that doesn't take away the desire inside of a feminine heart, or the desire for men who love the camaraderie of the crew, like men in the military and guys on football teams. So that masculine energy of Aries is really profound. So for Neptune, that can be a scorching, that can be a drowning, that can be left out, out of your element, not in the sea. But I want to get more specific about the astrological combinations of what would be Mars to Neptune. And I'm doing that because Mars is the ruler of Aries. So this month in April, we're going to see it, and it's on fleek. Not only that, Venus, at the very last day of April, is going to move back to Aries. So she's been dancing back and forth since February between Pisces and Aries. And Venus, the goddess of love and money, matched with, and this is for our May forecast, because she'll be there in Aries all May long. This is a dance back and forth between our ideals in romantic relationships, also the fantasy or ideals you have about money and self-worth and whatever's going on financially for you. So come get your readings because these are quite exciting times. Now, April's going to fly by super fast. There's tons of fire energy. The bad side of that are the wildfires and all the destruction thereafter. And with a lack of water, and that's planetary and that's also environmental, in these areas that are just brittle and dry and at, a tiny little flicker of a match are being ignited and lives are changed forever. But I want to tell you that in literal terms, examples of Mars to Neptune would be things like fighting at the sea. And so we're talking about the Navy, aren't we? Or some kind of military warring going on. And just like our President Trump wants to annex Greenland, that's because that little piece of land is surrounded by water, and those are the waters of other countries to protect American soil. So again, it's a military strategy, and maybe it seems to be a grand illusion because Neptune is. The other thing Mars and Neptune can be are seduction and manipulation, because of the fantasy that goes on with what the person wants to acquire. And where does that come from? Number one, unconscious desires. Number two, this idealized ending. It's the fairy tale. It's the story where he gets the girl. And so that's really going to be prominent and proud. And pride is not always a good thing. So here I am, your double Taurus astrologer, grounding you back to reality. So what else is Neptune with Mars? It's, like I said, it's seduction. Because I talked to you a little bit about the charisma and mystery and magnetic energy that Neptune is when you're born with it prominent in your chart. And I think I'll make a video about what that is too, because it's so fascinating. So let's think about whatever dazzles you. What are you just like mesmerized by and you're hypnotized and transfixed by? That's Neptune. And I can't remember, I think I did it in your weekly forecast last week. I worked a lot, made a lot of videos. My head's still a little tired, but it feels so good to be working again for you. And thank you for all the warm comments that you guys write to me. You make me smile. Some of you, Marcy, Susan, Debbie, like it's an automatic given. You're just loving and caring and you got open hearts, and that is so beautiful. Now, let's talk about that for a minute. So if you are such an open-hearted person and you got a big smile on your face and your heart's bigger than your shoulder width, well, you're open to goodness, aren't you? And delightful things. Mars with Neptune can be in seduction. That's very attractive to somebody that's going on some kind of a fantasy trip. And yet we have to be careful because the manipulation that comes with that is it can be a predator in disguise. And what do I mean by that? Well, just like the fairy tale stories when he gets the girl, or channels like Lifetime, and I don't know all of them. I've never been a big romantic novel kind of girl. I'm a nonfiction person, so it's all the illusion. Oh, I know those historical novels, and breasts are swelling and buttons are unbuttoned and zippers are getting tighter and all of this very Mars Neptune fantasy. But what about that? So ground you back to reality. It's that predator in disguise, the wolf in sheep's clothing. Because if we idolize a hero, and gosh, right now on the planet, that's happening to the Republican Party. We are a party. Sorry, got a little fruit fly joining the conversation. We are a party that admires achievement. We are a party that loves our military. We're a party that believes in getting out of bed in the morning and getting your work done, and then you get to play, not the other way around. We're a party who believes that you should earn your own way because of all the abundant opportunities given to you in the land of opportunity. So right now, we Republicans have adrenaline flowing through our blood. Our hearts are pumping. We're excited about people like Caroline Leavitt President Trump, Elon Musk, not so much for me, but most of you, Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard. Like, these are some exciting characters. Kristi Noem, although she's a Neptunian character, and just as I listed that whole thing, she's a little different from the rest of them because she's a Neptunian character. But anyway, it's an exciting time. The stock market's up. It's done the best it has after our president was elected. We've got Caroline Levitt that I haven't done her chart yet, but boy, I'm curious. And she exhibits lots of Aryan nature. So who are Aryans? They're knights, they're daredevil pilots, they're all of our athletes. They are these exciting characters that have a lot of blood because Mars rules the blood. Their blood's pumping, they're excited, they want to get something done. They have goals, they want to achieve. They're a little ruddy in the complexion. And so we have this palpable excitement going on. With Neptune there's an idealization that comes in because of our unconscious desires. So if a little girl is born to a mommy and a daddy that get along, and she's got a grandma who loves her, a grandpa who loves her grandma, and she's adored, and she's maybe pampered a little like a princess, what happens is, and then she's read stories like Cinderella and Snow White, and what happens is these early pinnings of planting the seeds of this, you get to fall in love. And then look at all the things that our commercialized material world does around the wedding. More people spend more money on their costumes, ridiculous amounts of money on the costumes and the decorations than they do the interpersonal communications going on between the couple. And then that's what happens with Mars Neptune. The fantasy goes, whoop, crash, because this idealization's not real. Because in the Cinderella stories, well, we do have stories about the housework and the dirt and the slave mentality, but gosh, in every couple, that's a part of our lives, isn't it? We have to go to work, we have to pay the bills. So this Mars Neptune can be, you got to ground it. That's the best way I'll tell you. And I have astrology and remedy courses, now just readings. I taught courses. If you want to come and get a reading about that. But I will forewarn you, Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, and Libra are highly prone to this dance of the illusion. So what else is it? Well, it's sexual fantasy. And it's a glamorous affair. But because there's a wolf in sheep clothing involved here, and it can be either party. There was a movie way back in the 80s, because I'm old, I'm almost 63. And I was like shocked, because I never heard of anything like this before. And the movie was called Black Widow. And this woman indeed was perusing the newspapers in every city she went to, going through the obituaries to find her next husband. And then she would kill him. And then she'd go on to the next rich husband in the next city. And so when I talk about the dance of illusion, this can be the male or the female. This isn't a poor little victim female, though victim mentality is part of the Neptune-Mars interplay. So what is it? Well, in sexual fantasy, we idolize our hero. And who is he? In Neptune, he's strong and he's virile and he's muscular and he sweeps us away. And like all the sweet stories, all her problems fall right out of her ears and she doesn't have to worry anymore. And he lifts her up and he carries her. She doesn't even have to walk. Like, it's so ridiculous. But these illusions and fantasies that are lyrical, all in the songs we listen to that are love songs, in the movies that we watch that are about love and romance, and the happily ever after married couple that they'll forever and ever and ever and ever, even after this lifetime, live together in complete harmony. And then, so music and film and books and, it's this big, we want it. And that's what's really the unconscious drive, the Mars-Neptune desire. We want it. If they can do it like that on Top Gun, well, then why can't I do it in my life? If that's how they do it in whatever your favorite romantic movie is, well, then I'm going to reenact it in my life. And this is good because it gives people ideas to treat each other well and to have a better marriage and to skip off to take a trip on the Light Fantastic and, dine and wine and have wonderful weekends. And so all of that's at an interplay, but Mars and Neptune are not the same kind of energies. And therein lies the mystery of, there's something underlying this little story of a glamorous affair, because it's with a two-faced liar. Either she is or he is. What is that? Well, I had a really sweet friend growing up when I was first actually left home and first married. And I wasn't from this area. And she was so wonderful. And I will love her for the rest of my life. But I couldn't understand. She fell in love with a millionaire. And he was a local, I don't have a nice word for him. Let me think of the worst thing I could say. He was disgusting, in my opinion. But he had money. And he promised trips and safaris, and he didn't buy her a lot, but for her it seemed to be a lot. In my opinion, not good enough. And she carried on this affair for over a decade, and he was married, and whatever was glittering about him in her eyes, which is nothing I could see, he was a sleazebag and still is. He had a beautiful wife, and they belonged to the church, and he had children that are entitled and spoiled, but he was one of those entitled brats who got daddy's money and inherited daddy's business. And he was a real piece of work. Short, not attractive. He did work out because he didn't have anything better to do, and his goal in life was to conquer and divide every woman he could find. And my beautiful friend, so beautiful, was raised in an abusive household with a stepdad that molested the boys and the girls, and then the boys in the family molested the girls in the family. And to top it off, they were manipulated by the religion that is Jehovah's Witness. I'm sorry if I don't mean to offend anybody here by saying the things I am, but I'm talking about the story of someone's life that I loved very much. And while of course it's all secret and hidden in the beginning because he's married, and she knew better. She was brought up in the church, no matter whether it's the kind of church that I agree fully with or not. She absolutely knew better. But whatever her unconscious desires were, which is the Mars-Neptune equation, she was lured into this pack of lies. And there was never a safari. He did jet her off and here and there to, I don't know how they did it or where they did it or what they did. The whole thing was very sickening to me. And I think I was in their company twice in my entire friendship, and I saw her a lot and loved her a lot, spent a lot of time with her. And the conclusion of the story, like they always turn out, is that after it took her a gosh damn long time, but she liked the glittery gowns and the high heels and dressing up for these soirees and the excitement that goes along with this glamorous illusion, because it's an illusion. She never gets the guy. And one of the two times I saw them together, she and I had gone to Erie, Pennsylvania out for a night with nightlife, and we're having the time of our lives, and he showed up because the sick relationship they shared was, she was stunning, so glamorous, and he couldn't bear the thought. The relationship between them went along great as long as he had her kept for his little secret affair. But the moment she did anything out in the socially, even at her work, he was making these uninvited appearances because he didn't trust her, because he couldn't trust himself. So and what I'm talking about, and the reason I'm bringing this up, is these are all the ingredients of these little tiny peppered instances that happen between couples that are in these clandestine affairs. So the glamour of Neptune and Mars, this attraction in a romantic way that's maligned, would end up with my best friend. The last time I saw this creep, my friend was hospitalized. She was so emotional and so pretty and so sweet, a dear Capricorn. I always have had best friends Capricorn, or the only two when I was in high school, and then my first Elaine. She ended up with horrible stomach issues, so to the point that she had to be hospitalized. Why is that? Because our guts, that long tunnel of 33 feet of intestine in your body, is what's called your enteric brain. So whatever you're going through in your life mentally in the world socks us in the stomach. It's kind of the reality of the truth, and you could even go as primal as the snake of human beings. So our whole spinal system, and even our skeletal system, our spinal column with the soft brain and then the bones, looks a bit like a snake, doesn't it? And when we talk about chakras and the energy centers and kundalini energy rising, it's through that curling snake. And another part of our body that's like a snake is that long body of intestine. Well, that's a reptilian creature that lives on instinct. So that's what our stomachs are. Those are full of nerve endings that are attached to the brain that are responsive and reactive to whatever's going on in the world, your personal world. So my sweet friend ends up in the hospital, and I'm visiting her, and she is like I've never seen her, because these highs of the ecstasy of these fantastical, seductive, and romantic relationships that are forbidden end up hurting you. Mars is a malefic planet. Mars is inflammation, infection, and poison, and it's weaponry. So and this gets turned against us when we're doing illicit things. So she's in the hospital suffering and dying. Her whole body is a mess. And I'm in the hospital in a small town, and I hear footsteps, because he's Mr. Glamour. He had his little high heels on, because he was always dressed to the nines, because he was very wealthy, entitled brat. Clickety-click, clickety-click, he comes down the hall and then feigns his great concern, and he's fawning and petting and weeping and trying to get my approval, which he never had. And I was always that figure standing firm in the back, like, hello, I'm your conscience, and this is absurd. And this lasted about 5 minutes of preening and petting and the flowers and the gifts, and when all of a sudden a nurse had to come in and check on her, and that bastard, and like I said, I have a whole mouthful of other words for that character and those characters in the world, stepped back and said, okay, ma'am, I'll check on those prices for you, and went out the door. And she's his lover, and she thought she was his future. And he, because a total stranger in a public setting, the hospital, because he's a well-known married man in the area that owns a business, showed who he really was and what the relationship really was. I never saw him again. The first time she confided this affair to me, I shared the way I feel, because I don't believe in things like that. And I bring this up because this is some of the glamorized, idealized, fantastical bullshit that is Mars and Neptune. So the 4 signs I mentioned, Aries and Libra, Cancer and Capricorn, you got to be on your guard. If it's all shiny and glittery coming in, nah, go for natural. Now, on the flip side, if you have enough reality and rationale and morality to keep reality on this plane, and then wow, we're going to enjoy some really fantastical, great movies, some great music's going to happen because the passion for all that is there. So we'll see great shows. If you like to go to shows and be entertained, that's going to be super fantastic. But this is violence and its victims, make no mistake. So whether it's a naval warfare or, okay, now we're going to talk about the body a little more. But let me give some categories of what these romantic liaisons look like. Well, there's a pack of people in this world that are raised not to achieve themselves, but to clamor on or grasp on or monkey bar on to something someone else has. So those we call gold diggers. And that's those Black Widow women, like I just talked about in that movie. Teresa Russell was the leading actress, and it's really good. And then we can think of the movie Fatal Attraction, how the wonderful glittery affair starts out hot and heavy, and then, holy crow, rabbits are dying and children are crying and wives are heartbroken. So this is the manifestation of this creepy stuff. So violence and its victims, it's deliberate leeching or lying, and who are the population that do these things? Well, they're groupies or women that only want to date wealthy athletes, or it's people that are after the wealthiest population, the achieved people, and the stars in the eyes of affairs like the Monica Lewinsky, Bill Clinton dynamic. Well, that was a predator and his prey. And her big blue eyes were all full of glittery sparkles about the president. So this is the, something about it is impossible. Something about it is unattainable and out of our reach. And so, there's an old adage, one of my friends, actually, I met her because of my astrology. She came to me for a reading. Hello, Jacqueline. I love you. And then she became a student, and she's a really cool person. And I'd never heard this adage before, but she said, if you marry for money, you'll pay for it. So that's kind of the thunk back down on earth of what these people that get involved with such situations end up with. So what else did I want to say? One of the couple is taking the other for a ride. And it starts out, like I said, all glittery and perfumey and whining and dining and these trips here and there and maybe even vacations. But underneath it'll blow away in the wind. Nothing's really there. It's all an illusion. Now, when we talk about the Mars-Neptune effect in the body, it plays out two different ways, and you'd have to come to me to get your reading for me to be specific about it. So the cautionary, let's talk about warfare in the water, and let's talk about it in the realm of health. Well, that would be tuberculosis. It's some kind of bacterial infection in the waters that affect the body. In the case of tuberculosis, scarring in the lungs, impossible to breathe, and something that people have to live with for a lifetime. So, back to the other thing I wrote down here. I just want to write because I spent a lot of time analyzing for you guys and I don't remember to say everything, but back to the fantastical, idealizing the hero and those glamorous affairs when there's not a peck of truth in how this thing ends up. But you got to look at the long run. Don't be focused on the little quick short trip or the little quick delight. You got to focus on the long run. So I wrote that these degenerative activities based on unconscious desires that lead to covert and clandestine affairs end up in total disaster. And it can be quite serious in health. I'm coming in with a light tone to it, but we are emotional creatures who need relationships, and we want love, and we need to feel security, and we need to feel safe, and we need to feel respected and heard. And when you're playing the mistress or the mister or the damsel in distress or the poor victim that needs rescued, and you think that you're this glamorous character because you're giving him something that his wife couldn't possibly give him. It's a crock of bullshit. And you should see it for what it is, and you shouldn't lower your own standards and put up with his crumbs or her crumbs. Ew. Who wants leftovers? I don't. So have the whole steak, for God's sakes, and forget the crumbs. So that's what these affairs are like. All right, back to infection and disease. So the peculiar thing, so first of all, Neptune is this charisma and this mystery and this, oh, I wonder what he's like, or wonder what it would be like to kiss him, or there's this sparkly interest and in this intrigue about these glamorous characters. And we see this when we have crushes on movie stars, or the screaming groupies that are just orgasmic over the song and the guy, and it's all just too much. That's Mars, okay, and Neptune. However, and don't think that I am not a sensual creature, you guys, because I am, but I think there's a place for it. And I'm not making fun of it, because I have had butterflies, and I do get stars in my eyes, and I have had crushes, and that's what all this stuff is. But in the body, this is the really weird part about Neptune. So Neptune diseases are things doctors can't put their fingers on. They're these mysterious things that come in, and the diagnosis never fits. There's never a medicine for it. They're untreatable diseases in the body. The other thing about Mars and Neptune can manifest two ways, depending on, and I'll be able to tell you with your astrology reading. It can either be something that makes you immune to infection. So you've got a really strong body, you don't get colds, you don't get flus, you don't have any of this situation. Or it can be a peculiar, untreatable, undetected thing. Now, Neptune rules the urinary tract system and the waters of the body. So it's infections and inflammations that swell the body, or like a lymphatic puff, or I can't think of what I want to say. All you nurses are cringing right now, and you doctors. It's like edema. That's what I'm trying to say. So any kind of swelling in the body that stretches the skin, or for instance, when I had traumatic brain injury, that swelling in my brain distorted vision and wreaked all kinds of havoc on my body. So it's an inflammatory response because of fungal infections, bacterial infections, burns that turn infected. It can be anything with Mars involved here. Blood infections, oh my goodness, it's leukemia, the cancer of the blood. So these are contaminants that can come from water, it can also be a parasitic infection. So this is terrible, but true. And I can tell you, I'll let you Google it yourself to get totally grossed out. Sushi is loaded with parasites that live in your intestines and cause all kinds of problems eventually on your bowels. So these can be internal parasitic infections, Mars and Neptune. And again, they affect your urinary tract. So it's also what poison is. Mars is used as a weapon in the Neptune. Neptune is all poison and poisonous chemicals. Neptune is cancers. So swellings, inflammations, and I can't even read my own writing. I have some kind of, bad drug reactions. That's, ta-da, I can read my writing. So it's contaminated and is having bad reactions to drugs. And I have to go to the dentist. So I am going to close this right now. But there's a lot of buzz around Neptune and Aries because it's a very big thing. And a really big thing about another reason we're going through these cataclysmic changes as we peruse through 2025, and now we're a quarter of the way through because this is April. The reason that we've got so much energy as we have, and things are happening so fast, and we're going through rapid changes, is because we have a lot of fire energy on our planet, and April is no exception. There's a lot of forthcoming energy, and Mars after the 19th of April is going into Leo, so that's more fire energy. Now the sun will change and go into an earth sign rather than being in a fire sign, but Mercury's going to be in fire, Venus is going to be in fire. So there's a lot of passion, a lot of drive. We'll see a lot of growth. There will be a lot more wildfires, unfortunately. And with Mars and Pluto, a lot more war. We're going to have some explosions we weren't counting on, and some nuclear issues we weren't counting on, and some atomic and laser-like, because Mars is all weapons and fire weapons and lasers and those kinds of explosive in temperament too. So everybody's got to really monitor that. Be careful of infection and disease. Don't be lured by some romantic, stupid fantasy. It's better to be with somebody that's not full of bullshit, who's not conning anyone, who says, look, I'm ride or die. I don't have a fancy car. I don't own a big business, but I'm there for you. And the truth of the matter is, the sweet fairy tale story is, that's the kind of guy a girl wants. You don't want somebody that's with everybody. Ugh. That's like going to get your neighbor's garbage and going through the scraps. Who wants that? Or sleeping in dirty sheets. Who wants that? Nobody. So you guys have a great day, and I hope you feel the excitement. You know, spring is here for us in above the hemisphere, the equator, I should say. And I'm a springtime baby. I always get spring fever. I'm so excited about plants and trees and blossoms. We had a little bit of a warm weather over the weekend, and the daffodils are popping everywhere. And gosh, I love spring flowers, and I'll show you. My daughter and I had dinner yesterday, and she surprised me with this bouquet. And oh my glorious goodness, look at those colors. And I love them. And so that's what you can do. But make sure, just like people demand wanting their money's worth, instead of thinking about big frilly fancy weddings, and oh, by the way, April has so many good dates for commitments and deepening vows and deepening your love relationships and great signatures for long-lasting marriages. Venus and Saturn together are right now for us this month, and that is high commitment, fidelity, truth, really deep bonds. So I want you to have those. Have those. Have an affair with the one you love that's going to stick with you forever and ever. Don't have an affair with somebody you don't know that's full of baloney and all shiny and glamoury and glittery, because that stuff wipes off, just like the wedding gown and all the decorations come down that are a 24-hour thing. Don't do that. Have something real. All right? You guys take care and stay tuned. I'm going to be making the weekly forecast early, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.